It's time.
All right, here we go.
The Cocktail Show.
Get ready to have a good time.
Let's have a good time.
This is exciting, isn't it?
Oh, I like that.
Hello, testing.
Welcome aboard the Dreamliner.
It's the only way to fly.
Wow.
I've allotted 1 hour for recreational activity. There's no time for irrelevant conversation. Fun will now commence.
Cocktail Show.
Gary.
Here's a young speaker who is really in demand.
Don't let that go to your head, Gary.
But wait, there's more.
I'm the guy. Finger gun.
Gary Meier.
3, 2, 1, 0.
This is the Garry Meier Show, Cocktail Hour, live.
Cocktails. Woo, drinks.
We're streaming live at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central.
On Friday, October 18th, 2024. Exclusively on the GarrForce Live YouTube channel. But of course, no matter where you are, it's time for a digital mimosa. This past week, I flew out of Central Florida and I was upstate New York, where it's actually fall. I don't get to see much of that anymore. While there, I also got over to Cooperstown, home of the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Good stuff in there. As for here on the show, the only way to stream along live is
The GarrForce Live YouTube channel.
YouTube. Subscribe to the GarrForce Live YouTube channel.
All of the past editions of the Cocktail Hour can be replayed on the GarrForce Live YouTube channel.
please like and share the show on all the social media channels.
Comments during the live show, wherever we are streaming, can be seen in our virtual studio.
And we may show them on the screen
and or talk about them.
Ah, that's good. Disappeared.
Thank you for your attention.
Now, fasten your seatbelts. It's time to go wheels up on the GarrForce Live.
Live.
Here we go. On America's podcast. Boom. Shakalaka. Hey now, welcome. And I like how Alan put on the screen that the interview was pre-taped so you don't phone in. It is so taped that you can't phone in with any questions. That's what he was saying, I guess. Hello, Mr. Letterman. Hello. Let's kick the tires and light the fires. And there are the tires. There are the fires. One more sequence happens every Friday to get the wheels up. Leslie removes the cat from her lap and the wine condom from her bottle. Hello.
I've got the cat right here. Here, she's coming up off my lap. Go ahead, baby.
Takes care of that.
And here's the bottle, and there's the wine condom.
How does it feel?
Oh, it feels good. It feels very good.
Here we go. We'll see. 3, 2.
Oh, straight ahead.
Straight
like
ahead.
Line
There
drive
it is.
at Cooperstown. Home of
Yeah.
baseball, except it turns out it's not. Ellen was giving us some history, and now it's a cat toy. No, you cannot play with that, Dare.
Okay, I've never been to
Ellen was telling us
Cooperstown.
some history. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear it's very beautiful. And he was saying that it's this 2-lane rural road to get there, no matter where you're coming from. It's in the middle of rural New York. Right, Alan?
Yeah, it was really truly in the middle of nowhere. I mean, beautiful nowhere, because it was the peak of the fall colors. And I guess I could put that picture up on the screen I had before if my computer would like to cooperate. There it is. I mean, it's not on your screen yet. It's only on my screen. So we got to push this button over here. There we go. And
why is it where it is?
That's the kind of road I dream of. No other traffic, nobody cutting you off, nobody shoulder riding.
No, but I got to tell you, when I was on the bluff next to the lake and one of the 2 lanes was closed for some overhead wire work, I was glad nobody was coming in the other direction.
There is that.
Okay.
The reason that Cooperstown is the home of the Baseball Hall of Fame, according to the paraphernalia on display in the Hall of Fame, is that around the early part of the 20th century, when baseball was becoming more and more of a business and they wanted to tell baseball's story, the people who seized upon Abner Doubleday's story, who was a Civil War hero, decided that his incarnation of baseball was among the more definitive incarnations of baseball, and that he laid out the field, Doubleday Field, in Cooperstown. And so they decided that that's where they would put the Hall of Fame. And apparently, except for the part about Doubleday being a war hero, the baseball story is a lot more fuzzy than that. There was evidence that baseball went back into the early 19th century, at least as early as the Civil War, which is mid 19th century. Could have been even earlier than that. But that's why it's there.
I think Civil War hero is an oxymoron, but that's me. Okay. Cheers,
well,
everybody.
He wasn't the North. He wasn't a Confederate.
Okay. The whole thing seems stupid as hell. I went to Gettysburg, and I'm looking at this field that they fought that war in, and it's wide open, and they are just shooting at each other in this open field. Thousands of people died. Horses died in the rotting hot sun. And for what? You're in the same country.
Amputations with no anesthesia. That's the ones who got lucky and lived. Woohoo.
Yeah, we want to divide up the country. Really? And now they have reenactments because it was such a special moment in our history. Let's reenact that and wear wool clothing in July with no buttons.
Only buttons, no zippers.
Okay, I thought they had strings when I saw the reenactment.
Well, there's some of that too, yeah.
Okay, I went to a skirmish. I paid $20 to go to a skirmish.
Well, Garry, if you had paid the extra $5 for a melee, you probably would have found out more. But
oh God, and I'm walking past these people, and they're sitting there like they're in 1860. And what are you doing? What really? What's wrong with you?
We had a story this week about war reenactors, and things got a little hinky at a family-run restaurant where some Nazi SS officers showed up for dinner. They were meeting up with other people who were dressed like USGIs and some wax or waves or military nurses or something. Yeah,
the restaurant refused to serve them. Right, that was the story.
I think they did serve them, and that was the problem. It's just other patrons there were clutching their pearls at the side of Nazi SS officers sitting down to dine.
I agree, but as we discussed, this is why we live in this country, because you can have various opinions, and you don't have to all agree, and that's okay. So our freedoms, as distasteful as they can be sometimes, it's pretty good to have them.
Do a World War II reenactment without some throwing in a few Nazis. So that has to be part of the mix. But could they do that thing that airlines make you do when you show up for a flight and you're wearing a T-shirt with swears, where they make you go and turn it inside out? I wonder how an SS uniform inside out wouldn't be as horrible. It's that pointy hat. No, they didn't wear those.
No, that's the KKK.
One of the pointy hats is the World War I German soldier.
Oh
yeah, that's right. They had that spike or something on top, right?
Didn't they used to show that at the beginning of Hogan's Heroes? That's where I learned everything I need to know about war and prisoner of war camps. Yeah.
I'll never forget one day I'm watching Hogan's Heroes. My father walks in and he says to me, "You think this is funny?" Because he was completely beaten up in the war, and he saw real war, and they're making a sitcom out of it. You think this is funny? And he was serious. And I'm like, oh, geez, what do I say now? So I turned on Andy Griffith, and everything was copacetic.
There you go.
Yeah.
But Dad, LeBeau, he's such a funny little Frenchman.
Right. See, the Germans are idiots in this show. See, they're buffoons.
And that was Mel Brooks's whole attitude when it came to the producers is, the only way you disarm these people is to mock them openly. Hence, Springtime for Hitler and Germany.
Jesus. I had Mel Brooks on the show once. What a great guy. It's in that Mount Rushmore area that he belongs with Harold Ramis. And not only because they're funny as hell, they're nice guy, or was a nice guy. He's dead now, but just the nicest people, too.
Didn't take himself too seriously. Well, we were talking about when we've interviewed people in the past, and invariably a D-lister shows up with a big giant entourage and a bunch of demands and, take out all the green M&Ms kind of stuff. But then somebody like a George Carlin or a Mel Brooks would show up, and they just would get out of a cab and come up to the station by themselves.
Exactly. You don't have to have a tude because you're great, and we know you're great, and that speaks for itself.
And part of what makes you great is that no tude.
That's right. You want to go through the screen door now? I got it right. Look at that.
We should remind people that comments that are made before the show now disappear. So
yeah, Alan, you want to make that announcement again?
I think he's doing it right now.
The way the virtual studio works now, anything that's in the virtual studio when we hit go live gets zapped from the virtual studio. So I captured this about an hour before the show so that we could have these handful of pre-show comments, but I saw them pouring in right before the show, and they go zap as soon as we start.
But we do have Kellyanne, and okay, in that small...
Gary, by the way, Mel Brooks is alive. I just got word.
I know he's still alive.
I thought you were talking about Harold Ramis passing away.
Harold is not, unfortunately. The Kellyanne one now in that format is so small that I can't see it. And it's a lot of text there. Can you read it, Leslie?
I cannot. This is like when we have to read from the Project K9 Hero calendar. Alan, can you read it?
God.
I'm not sure I can pronounce what she's written. We got Megalopgy, Operculalis, Puss Caterpillar ? And then we got more Latin. We got more Latin ahead. The pars opercularis refers to vertically oriented fold of the inferior frontal gyrus in the frontal lobe of the brain. This is why I went to law school. All the Latin I know is different. I'll stick with the schnauzer. Leslie, thanks for seeing my post last week. Posting closer to showtime isn't always possible due to my job. XOXO. Gary, sorry about the word salad. Okay. At least it's before the Manhattan. There you go.
Then you got Chuck from WRLR. I see that from Gurney, and Lloydster's checking in. Kellyanne's referring to a story Leslie did about pus and puss, right?
I don't know why I wanted to call it a pus caterpillar. I think because I was thinking in terms of skin irritation and such, but it is PUSS. So of course it would be a puss caterpillar. And it is puss caterpillar season in Florida. So if you haven't already been taken out by a hurricane, there's every chance that you might accidentally touch one of these things. And there's little spiky, what looks like fur is actually spikes and burns like the dickens. And there is no cure for it. So fun
don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Alan, you fared okay with Milton?
Yeah, my neighborhood was very fortunate. My house withstood the attack. We didn't lose power. My trees got a little shaken, but not felled. There were some trees down in the neighborhood, and there's some flooding on a street that likes to flood every time we get one of these big storms that our county commissioner had said that they were going to put pumps up on and they were going to put dams up on, and it's still flooded, although it's still drivable because the flood, I guess, is less than 6 inches. It was still flooded as of last night, which is almost a week now since Milton rolled through.
It only takes a couple of inches of water to float a car, and you got to be really careful.
Alan, your house was made to hurricane standards in Florida. It's a relatively new house, so it can withstand how much wind?
I don't want to know.
Okay, but the water
it withstood this one, and we had gusts in the 70s to 90s.
But water is the main problem with these storms, it seems.
Well, water is the main killer, right? Because water floods and people drown. But the wind is a threat, and the tornadoes, as we saw on the East Coast, like in Fort Pierce, the tornadoes are a threat because tornadoes are always a threat. If they tear down your house and drop it on you, that's not going to be a good day.
I've seen Twister. I know what you're talking about.
Did you see Twisters, the new one?
No, I have not. I'm not going to see Twisters. I'm not going to see Joker Fall Ado. Unless it comes on cable, I'll watch it on cable. I'm not going to see it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, boy, did that thing completely belly flop.
Well, when you start looking at the numbers, and it cost hundreds of millions of dollars to produce. There was another $100+ million spent in advertising. So I think the number I saw was it had to break 450 mil in order to make a profit.
Right. How do you screw this up? This first one was perfect in that it made $1 billion, so it must have been perfect. And you're going to make a sequel because the studio made $1 billion and they went to the producer, hey, you got another one in your noggin? Here's a blank check. Oh, yeah, I think I do. But don't you hire some writers and make sure this thing's got some guts?
You would think, and that's the common complaint right now, is that the writing is abysmal. Sure, Gaga is a talented young lady, and Joaquin, you know, who doesn't love him? But yeah, it doesn't matter. It's like Saturday Night Live. They dress them up in the costumes and then assume that that's going to be what carries the bit.
They think that's 85% of the bit. No, that's 30% of the bit. 70% still needs to be filled in.
Actual writing and content. Yeah.
Oh, we are nasty. Hey, I got to tell you, that full moon.
The claws are up.
Did the full moon kick the full moon kicked my ass on Wednesday? Kicked my ass.
On top of that, I think I saw, I don't know, because comets stay put, do they not? Right. So it must have been a shooting star, because there is that comet that people are seeing.
Right. That comes around every 80,000 years.
Whatever. And I don't even know the name of this one. I took too much time memorizing Hyakutake, and now I'm never going to be able to use it in a sentence again, except I did just there. Anyway, but there was this thing that happened last night, and it was a little light with a giant stream on it. Like a jet wake, but it was darkety dark out. So it wasn't a contrail. So I don't know what I saw last night. It might be aliens. Let's just assume it's aliens.
Sure, it could be. No problem.
Sure.
Yeah. And
did anybody else see this? It was a UFO. Absolutely. It was flying.
Was it that
I cannot identify it.
Was it that 80,000 year comment? Comment. Your comments are welcome. I'm going back to the comments. What the hell?
Craig wants to know if I'm microdosing again. No. I'm either going to macro dose or no dose at all. Damn it.
That's right. Alan took this picture at what airport is this, Alan?
That's Albany International. That's last night about 6 o'clock.
That looks like a painting. That's pretty beautiful there.
Yeah, that was quite the scene when I looked out the window before we got on the plane.
But that moon, I don't know. I was ready. My hair was everything was growing. I was going to run through the forest at midnight. I was so wigged out on that full moon.
Oh, is Garry. Well, if you howl, will Flynn howl with you?
Yes, we do a duet. He's my lady.
Part of the joy of owning a dog is getting them to howl.
He's my Lady Gaga. Okay, who else has checked in? Scott from Scott's Vintage.
So this is the first comment after we went live.
As my grandfather used to say, if you light the tires and kick the tires, you're going to burn your foot.
There you go.
Well, that's what we do. That's how we go wheels up. We got to do it.
Well, we actually kick the tires, then light the fire.
Light the fires, right. Martin, British Columbia, here every week. Hello, Martin. Good to see you. And Mike and Pat, they're here every week from Lake Barrington, Illinois, checking in. A beautiful fall happening in a lot of the country. Michael, hi, gang. San Antonio on board in TX. Texas is a state. Yes, it is.
Is it now?
Yes,
Really?
it is.
When did
Still,
that happen?
although they want to
that
break
new?
off too. I mean, who knows? Marianne from Dubuque, Iowa.
They have a funicular there, I believe.
A what?
This cool little like cable car that goes up the side of a hill in Dubuque.
Okay.
I rode it as a child, and it even had a sign saying that there was a squirrel crossing along the way.
What are you, Rick Steves now?
I wish. That guy's living the
I know.
dream, man. I want what he's having. By the way, I got my first passport.
Your first passport?
Never owned a passport. Well, because
Really?
I would travel to places like Mexico and the Caribbean, and you didn't used to have a passport to go places like that. And I've never been to Europe, but I'm at that stage in life where I might have to do an eat, pray, love kind of getaway. Isn't that what people do at this stage of the game?
You can do whatever you want at this stage. It's your stage, your dime, your dance floor. Kevin, enjoying a cold youngling. Is Kevin the one I saw earlier? Did he mention he's watching the Mets game too? The Mets, and it's the Mets and Dodgers, right? I'm not following baseball. You're a baseball fan, obviously, Alan. You went to Cooperstown. Where are we in this series?
I was a baseball fan. I haven't been since about 2017.
So you're not. What's going on? Where are these?
I know the Mets are in the playoffs. The guy next to me on the flight was watching it stream on the flight home to Orlando last night, but that's all I know.
I know it could be a Subway Series. I know the Yankees are in it. It's the Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, and
where are the White Sox? Did the White Sox?
The Chicago White Sox. What happened to them?
But as consolation, I do have.
Didn't they make it into the record books though?
Yes, they did. Worst.
There's their World Series. There's their World Series ring from 2005.
Yeah, from 20 years ago.
And the Cubs from 2016. Let me get that comment off the screen.
Okay, no Subway Series there. That's an airplane series we're gonna maybe have someday. But it's who's the fourth? Cleveland. Cleveland's the fourth team, right?
I think that's right.
Yes.
All right.
Johnny from Michigan says the Mets are up. I'm sorry, Johnny. Hang on. He's texting me. He's having trouble commenting, so he's just texting me directly. Mets are up 8-1 in the third. So there you go. Thank you, Johnny.
Where are they in the series?
By the way, he's got working on his homework last night because he's got a debate coming up. And he was a little concerned about doing the prep for it, but he's got it. He's going to be fine.
Ed says Dodgers up 2, win, Mets win. Dodgers up 2, Mets win. Okay.
Oh. Okay.
All right. Mets versus Dodgers, game 4, 8-1. All right. Okay. Greg wants to know how the Cubs are doing. They're doing fine on the golf course.
Yeah, really. Oh, Lordy.
So
I think the value of the team went up anyway.
Which team?
You said, how are the Cubs doing? I think the value of the team went up anyway.
Well, that's true.
I saw with Reinsdorf considering selling the Sox that I think 80 mil that they spent on the team, or was it 8 mil that they spent on the team in the 1980s? It's now worth 2-point-something billion. So
yeah,
good investment there.
Sports teams are going to be toys for billionaires. Only billionaires are going to be owning these teams. It's the new toy. It's that or politics. That's what billionaires want: a sports team or politics, because they have the money.
Or space travel.
Or space travel, right. That's the third thing they want. They don't want to be like the rest of us.
Taylor Swift not making any plans to go into space from what I've heard, but there are rumors that she's thinking of buying a football team.
Ooh.
So, and I think she knows a football player or two. So She could build her own empire.
Yeah, like she needs more. Okay, let's set the table for the giveaway because I'm going to play the Billy Gardell interview. He had to tape it yesterday because he is working tonight. And so we taped it yesterday, but it's still fresh. I think all the same information will be fresh.
Nothing has changed. Okay.
Leslie, I know you wanted me to ask him about that commercial that we always had fun with, where he did this Ozempic commercial and they showed him in the park exercising, doing these really minor exercises. And then he would go over to this, right, these little cones. Right, he'd run around those.
Kind of walked a zigzag pattern through them.
And then he had this thing, and then he would go over to this trailer, this food trailer, and get what looked like a drink to me that had 1,500 calories. I do ask him about that in this piece.
Well, then I'm going to stick around and watch.
Are you? Or do you don't have to do a play?
Oh, I'm good. I'll stick around. The rest of
What
you,
are you giving?
you guys, are you?
What are you giving away?
Oh, well, we talked about this on the pre-show. It's going to look surprisingly like last week's giveaway because it is. Our last week's winner was so in the moment that she signed up and then realized she had won pretty recently. So she very generously said, put the prize back into circulation and hand it off to somebody else. By the way, I did send you last week's winner. I did send you a little something for being so cool. So thank you for that. Wow. So here's what we got. We got a Bon Journey t-shirt.
Yes.
Journey, the new iteration of our house band, Oh Yes, doing the music of Bon Jovi and Journey. We've got, speaking of Oh Yes, we've got some Oh Yes gear, including a koozie, a guitar pick, and a bracelet. We've got some cool psychedelic cubes to put into your glass. They are not ice cubes, but they do make it sparkle. Here, I should show you right here. Ooh, this is what happens when you throw them in a glass. So it turns into a disco experience. Tracy from Wisconsin gives us bendables and ball liquors. And speaking of Tracy from Wisconsin, saw some pumpkin spice Kringle at the local Trader Joe's here. And it's from the company that she gets it from in Racine, Wisconsin. So cool stuff. I believe this came to us from Greg in Decula, Georgia. Removed before firing, says this. What else? We've got cool things from Scott's Vintage Antiques and Collectibles, little appliques and stickers. We've got Scott also gives us the fortune telling fish. Alan, our producer, provides us with your own GarrForce magnet. I threw in some other stuff, and Tracy outdid herself. Now we give away Slinkies. Is that not the coolest thing?
There
These
it is.
Authentic.
Remember that?
And the prize that started it all, your very own wine condom. How is that?
Okay, how about...
Do we want to set up a hashtag?
Yeah, hashtag full moon.
Okay.
Hashtag full moon.
FULLMOON, correct?
Bill, put that in the queue. And then at the end of the show, Alan will hit the button and somebody will win all of that stuff. All right. Are you ready to talk to Billy Gardell? Somebody in the comment section said, it's Chris from Gilbert, AZ. Not sure who he is. He was on the show Mike and Molly with Melissa McCarthy for many years. And this show that just ended on CBS, Bob Hart's Abishola, it was a mixed race relationship. They're very popular.
But you could already tell that he is on his weight loss journey by the time he started Abishola.
Look at him in Mike and Molly, and look at him when you see him in just a second here when I talk to him. Yeah, he talks about that process of how he lost all the weight. All right, here he is. My guest is Billy Gardell, star of Mike and Molly and Bob Hart's Abishola. Bob Hart's Abishola now on the U at 8 and 8:30. Welcome, Billy.
Thanks for having me, Gary. I appreciate it.
It says on your Wikipedia page that you occasionally visit your parents in Florida. Who would write such a thing on your Wikipedia page? Your parents trying to nudge you to visit more? You should visit more, and because you can't update your own Wikipedia page.
Yeah, I don't know who puts anything on the internet. I try not to pay attention to it.
You're better off for it. Now, I have a lot to talk about with you. Have you got a moment, or do you have to go do a play or something?
No, go ahead. I'm good. I'm unemployed at the moment.
Good. Okay. You started, let's go back to the beginning. You started working at a comedy club on a bet. You went on stage, and now your whole life is different because of that moment, or is that not true on Wikipedia either?
No, that's true. I was working in a warehouse in a place called Zayre's, which was a precursor to Target back in the day. And I worked in the back loading trucks and unloading trucks. And I always wanted to be a stand-up, and I kept telling the guys on the line that that's what I was going to do. And they all bet me $50 I wouldn't do it. And I didn't have enough money to cover the bet, so I had to do it. So I ended up getting a open mic spot at a place called Bonkers in Orlando, Florida. And then to be around the business, because I was underage, they gave me a job. And so I would clean the club, and I learned to host and seat people and work the phones, and then work my way up on stage through open mic night from there. And that was kind of like my beginning. And then 25 years later, Chuck Lorre found me.
Yeah, that's a good find. Let's step to the stage that first night. Was that a complete disaster, exhilarating? How did that feel?
The first time I ever went up on stage at open mic night, I did great. And I didn't have any friends in the room or anything, but I just killed for 5 minutes. And it was like, I knew right then that's what I wanted to do. And then I was just terrible for about 2.5 years after that. But that first bite was enough to keep me coming back.
And how old were you at that moment?
I believe I was 17. So I started in 1987. December 28th was my first night on stage.
You're still in high school at that point.
I was just finishing, yep.
And had you thought of any other occupation? You were still trying to figure it out?
No, I was very lucky. At around 9 years old, I knew I wanted to be a stand-up comic.
What was the spark? How did you know that at 9?
Every Friday night, I would stay at my grandparents' house. And my grandmother was a huge Johnny Carson fan. And I would watch his monologues and then wait for the comedian to come on Friday night on Carson. And I just looked at her one day and I go, "You think I could do that?" And she said, "Yeah, I think you could. And if it was that old school, if you work hard enough, you could do anything you want to do." And I trusted her opinion so much, I just never asked anybody else.
You're better off. When you get the answer you want, hang up, right?
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, that's it. I learned that from Moneyball. And that is unusual, because usually when you're talking show business, most parents would go, "No, you got to get a real job," and discourage you from going down that path, because, and you're going to maybe confirm this momentarily, it's brutal.
Yeah, it's a 1 in a million shot, but I was lucky. My dad was really behind me and really believed I could do it. My grandmother was. My mom was the worrier. So she was like, "You have a good job at the warehouse. You have insurance. Don't quit." But I knew what I wanted to do. And of course, now she's changed her tune since it's all successful. We all knew he could do it. She didn't know.
Right.
But
I encouraged him from the get-go.
Yeah,
I was the one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But my dad was the guy that was like, "Never give up your dream." Because he always wanted to be an animator. My dad was a good artist, but he never got that chance to follow his dream. So he was always in my corner and always behind me saying, "Yeah, keep going, keep going, keep going." And he was a big reason that I didn't quit,
How long did you percolate in Florida before you realized you got to go to New York or LA if you want to really make this happen?
Yeah, I lived in Florida. When I started, I did Florida from about 87 to 91, just doing Florida gigs and trying to get my act together. And then I moved to New York and just got my behind handed to me. New York was a great lesson. I mean, it just sent me packing after about a year. So then I moved back to Florida and I regrouped. And then I met my manager in Atlanta at the Punchline, and I moved up to Atlanta, and I kind of evolved as a comic there. And then I moved to Chicago and lived for 2 years in Chicago, doing the road the whole time. And then after about 8.5 years, I moved out to Los Angeles. And then 15 quick years later, I was an overnight success.
There you go. And you did stand up all those years in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And was the goal at that point, Billy, just to make yourself the best stand-up comic? Or were you in LA thinking, well, all the show business is here, maybe I'll go to some auditions for TV shows or whatever? Did that become part of the repertoire?
Well, my dream was to always end up on a sitcom. That was always what I want to do. And again, I credit my father. You know, we used to watch The Honeymooners together, and then all the classics later, Cheers and MASH and all that stuff. And that's what I wanted to do. But I knew stand-up's my first love, and that's what brought me to the dance. And that's what got me the opportunity. But I knew when I moved to Los Angeles, it wasn't really a stand-up hound. You know, I knew I could use my stand-up to get seen, to get an agent, to get acting auditions. So what I did was I kind of balanced it between trying to get auditions and then hitting the road. There's a pilot season, or it used to be that way. It'd be pilot season would be February and March, end of January, February, March. And that's when you'd audition for all the new shows. And then nothing would happen from April until August. So I would go out on the road and do stand-ups and save up all my money so I could float during those times. And then September and October and November were like guest starring months. So I'd be home for those and then hit the road again from December until pilot season. And that was the cycle that I was in. So I was always doing stand-up on the road, but trying to get an acting gig in Los Angeles. And stand-up sprungboard me into that because I was able to get seen by some agents. Back in the day, they had a festival too. Now there's a bunch, but back then it was just Aspen or Montreal. And I got the Aspen Comedy Festival, and then some agents saw me there, and that's how it kind of began for me. And then once I had an agent in LA, I didn't worry about stand-up in LA. I worried about stand-up on the road because in LA, I was just trying to get into television.
How many auditions did you do before you hit Mike and Molly?
Oh, Mike and Molly came, let's see, I got to LA in 96, and Mike and Molly came in 2010. So I had done a bunch. I mean, there's a million, you're going to get a million no's before you get one yes. But in 2002, I got my first guest starring part on The King of Queens. Kevin James put me on that show. And then from there, I ended up getting little guest starring parts here and there, little, you know, I was Cop One or Man at the Bar, or, you know, those little parts that just kind of get you seen. And if you do a good job with that scene, maybe you get another gig. And it just kind of built from there.
And you heard about Mike and Molly, and your agent goes, get over there, audition.
Actually, no, the way I heard about Mike and Molly was the guy who played my partner, Reno Wilson, who's just like my brother. He's a dear, dear friend. We were on a show together. I want to say it was around 2004 or 5. It was called The Heist, and we played partners. And it was like a crime jewelry heist thing, and we were the cops that were after these guys. And we got to be very, very dear friends. That show got canceled in about 6 episodes. But years later, we just stayed friends. But years later, I'm getting a call from him, and I was packing to go to a stand-up gig or something. He goes, "What are you doing?" I go, I got to go to Cincinnati, do some jokes. And he's like, "I just read this script called Mike and Molly." He goes, "It's us, man. You got to get your agent to get you in on this." So I called my manager. He called my agent. They set up a meeting so I could get an audition for it. And then I ironically beat out all the Mikes, and he beat out all the Carls, and we ended up working together. In fact, what was really funny is when the first week, episode 1, we pulled in, his car was getting repossessed and my transmission was out. So we pulled onto the lot like Fred and Barney, you know? So we came sliding into home and made it together, which was really nice.
That sounds like a typical LA story.
Yeah,
you
really
hear these
is.
stories. I lived in my car. I didn't eat for 4 weeks, and then this happened. And
yeah,
and gold happened.
I always say it, LA is like the biggest casino in the world. You just got to be able to stay at the table. Let them cut off everything else. Just get the phone on.
and you obviously had an incredible run on Mike and Molly, and Melissa McCarthy's career. Her movie career was starting to skyrocket during the run of the TV show. That had to be pretty interesting to watch.
Yeah, year 3 of our show, her star in the movies really took off, and that really helped our show too. It magnified the existence of our show, so that was good for all of us.
Here's my little fantasy mind, Billy. As a young kid looking at television in Chicago, and it's freezing cold in January, and I see all these shows on the beach in Los Angeles, and I think, where is that? That is Oz. Yeah. People get paid to do that. And when I went to see some shows being filmed, some sitcoms, 2.5 Men, Bob Newhart, to watch the process. To me, it's magical. What they can do in this small space, and millions of people watch it, and all the people working on it. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, it's about 150 person crew that it takes to do a sitcom. You got your lighting, your gaffers, your wardrobe, your makeup, your craft service. I mean, it's a real team of people. And I think if you're lucky enough to be the lead of one of those shows, you have to remember that your responsibility is to do your best job, because you're keeping 150 people employed, and you become a tight-knit unit. And it really is magic. And I'm still very, very campy about it. I love television. I love being on TV. I love doing the performance, and I love what it gives people. You know, we got many letters from both shows. You know, people tell you, hey, you got us through a tough time, or, you know, or my dad was going through chemo and the only show he wanted to watch was your show. And you forget when you're performing, if you're coming from a service plane, you touch people in ways you don't even realize you're touching them. And if you stay in the idea of service, then I think that keeps your ego in check.
I was thinking, when Pat Sajak retired, what are you retiring from? You work 48 days a year, you make $15 million a year. That is retirement. Why would you give that up?
That's a great job right there. He must be tired, because they'd have to cart me off that set.
Yeah. As Penn Jillette told me recently when I talked to him, he said Penn and Teller will die in office. And that's the way I feel about doing this. I love it. And you obviously love doing what you do. Yeah, I just think when you get these opportunities, it's something that it's hard to explain to people that look at it and think, hey, they're just talking, or they should do. But when you're in it, it's hard to get out of it, because it's so intoxicating.
It's rewarding
on so many levels. Yeah,
it's very
exactly.
I find it
rewarding. Yeah, rewarding. I'm sorry, I just wanted to say, rewarding. You have Mike and Molly, and then you have another hit sitcom, Bob Hart's Abishola. That's that rare orbit where lightning strikes twice that almost nobody gets in your arena.
I'm just so grateful. You know, again, it was Chuck Lorre. The second time he was like, hey man, I got another idea. And I was like, hey, I'm in. Whatever you want to do. You changed my life. I'll come drive you to work if you want. But he came to me with this idea, and I was, of course I'm in, man. And then for this show to be going into syndication after the last one went into syndication, sometimes I just still I'm awed that happened, you know.
And here's the other thing, talking about syndication and television's history. I've had some people on the show that were on TV in the 60s. They got paid for 3 reruns, and then it went away forever. And that got changed in the 70s. But imagine you're sitting at home and the shows are running all the time.
40 years later, yeah.
Exactly. I know, I heard that I Love Lucy makes $10 million a year for CBS. It was done 65 years ago, and just printing the money.
I think people just want that warmth, and that's why they enjoy sitcoms, and it gives them a break from the world we're living in right now. And I think that's why they're still valuable. The residual thing is, thank God the union fixed that for the longest time, but now we're fighting an uphill battle with these streaming services now. So it's kind of back to what it, you know, that part of it's back to what it was. And, you know, we have to keep fighting the good fight for that. And we'll see how it plays out. But I've enjoyed being a network guy. I'm a TV guy. I like being a TV guy.
Let's talk about the 375-pound gorilla that's not in the room anymore.
Sure.
Because if you are familiar with Billy's work, when you saw him on Mike and Molly, he's a pretty large man, and he is not a large man anymore. You were going through your weight loss journey during Bob, right?
Yeah. I had health issues, so I had to make a big change, and that's what motivated all of that. But I went to Chuck after the second season. I said, hey man, I need to make a big change, and I want to do this operation. And I want your blessing. And of course, you know, we've become friends over the years. And he was like, look, Bill, I just want you to be here as long as you can be here. And he goes, look, the show is about a guy who has a heart attack and falls in love with his nurse and has to get healthy anyway. He goes, so we'll just fit it right in. We'll put little subtle nods in there like, hey, you're looking good, Bob, or hey, you're eating healthy, Bob. And so he goes, and we'll let the audience take that journey with you. And so he was incredibly supportive. And I got to do that live on television, which was pretty crazy.
it was like Bewitched. They had two different Darrens, but
yeah,
you were the same Darren in the end.
The greatest comment I heard was, "Hey, they replaced Billy Gardell on Bob Hart's Abishola."
That's what I mean. Yeah, you look fantastic.
It's been a gift, man. It's been a real gift.
You had the surgery, and that's the stomach staple?
No, I got bariatric surgery, which is the big one, where they turn your stomach into a 2-inch pouch, and then they connect it to your small intestines, and then it stretches out a little bit, but then you have to watch your portions the rest of your day. You have to change everything still. That's just the beginning. It's not the answer. But that surgery allowed me to really become healthy again. I got off all my meds. My type 2 diabetes went away. It was probably the biggest gift I gave myself or my family.
Speaking of diabetes, you did that Ozempic commercial.
I did.
Which we got the people that work on my show, and I got a kick out of it because the commercial has you doing some exercising in the park, and then you go over to this big concession wagon and get a 1,000 calorie drink. It looks like.
Well, it was actually a yogurt parfait, but I always felt like it looked like a milkshake too. I was on Ozempic for about a year, and I was their spokesperson, but that was back before they knew it was a weight loss drug.
Right.
I was just doing it to control my type 2 diabetes, and then I started getting other medications, cholesterol and blood pressure, and I just started looking at this pile of medicine that I was taking. I was like, I got to do something bigger here, because I don't want to keep adding medicine to my pills, you know. So I was like, I want to be only taking vitamins. And this surgery allowed that to get back to that. So I'm very grateful for that.
When Craig Ferguson left his late night show, you were one of the rotating people they used. Did you like doing that? Would that be something that you'd enjoy doing too?
Man, I love that. I'm friends with Craig, and he's just a great guy. He was the first guy to ever have me on a talk show. And when when he was ready to retire, they did let me come in and guest host it. And I was secretly hoping that they'd tap me to do that, because I love that kind of TV. Like I said, I grew up watching Carson. So that was a dream to do that. I got to do it for a week. And then, like everything else in Hollywood, they hired somebody that was 22. So what are you going to do?
Well, if you can give me Ryan Seacrest's agent, I'll be glad to talk to him. My God, that guy, what golden, whatever he has up his keister.
I don't know. You got 9 jobs.
Exactly. And I don't think they even auditioned anybody else for Wheel of Fortune. It was Pat's retiring, and 10 minutes later, Ryan's got the job. My God, how many jobs?
Everybody's path is different. You know, some guys it falls on, and other guys got to dig in the mine. You know, but either way, this is the business we've chosen. So
my show business trifecta, it would be 2 hit sitcoms and then a game show. And then I heard you did a game show. Tell me about that.
I had a fantastic game show that I did with a guy who created it, Kevin Belenkoff, and it was the Monopoly Millionaires Club. And we did it for about a year. And the problem was it was a syndicated strip show, but it was too big for that. It should have been like a network show. And I think if it had been, it would still be on today. And I had great joy doing that. And I would not turn down another one. I mean, look what Drew Carey did with Price is Right. I mean, he's just rolling right now. And they're fun to do. You get to talk to people, which is how you start as a comic anyway. So it's an easy transition for us. And you're giving away money that's not yours. What's not to like, you know?
There you go. There you go. Well, you've had a wonderful career, and it's going to apparently keep going, and that's good. And you are too, because you're half the man you used to be.
Yeah, I went from a young Jackie Gleason to an old Paul Newman. So I'm just trying to see. Maybe I'll get to play the burned out police chief pretty soon. I'm looking for that.
Speaking of Jackie Gleason, and you mentioned Carson, the Carson show last night, as we tape this, had Jackie Gleason as a guest. And here is my observation. He smoked at least 4 cigarettes in the 8 minutes he was on. He had them in his pocket.
Like a chimney.
He had them in his pocket loose, and he just pulled one out, light it, boom, boom, boom. And now, years later, I have a doctor friend who took care of him when in the hospital in Chicago. He was smoking in the oxygen tent.
I think that was that generation. They thought anywhere they went, they could smoke, you know?
And away he went, Billy.
And away he went. But he held in there a long time. 75 was a good run.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Billy, continued success. Thank you for your time.
You as well, Garry.
And
thank you.
Once again, Bob Hart's Abishola on the U, 8 and 8:30 in Chicago. Take care.
Thanks, man.
What a nice dude.
Very nice guy. the U is part of that Me TV family, but the U is only on in the Chicago area.
It's going to be available elsewhere.
I'm sure it will be. But this Chuck Lorre, my God, if you see a lot of these hit shows, you'll no doubt see his name at the end of them. I think he did 2.5 Men, Mike and Molly, and as we talked about, Bob Hart's Abishola, but he's got a bunch of others. This guy has hit the mother lode of sitcoms.
Well, and how cool that he recognized the need to take care of his actor and be able to pretty seamlessly work it right into the project that they were doing. So, yay. I mean, because we always hear about everything horrible that is going on in the world of Hollywood. So that's pretty heartening. And the fact, I didn't know this whole Craig Ferguson tie-in. And honestly, there's a show that deserved a whole lot more than it ever got. I mean, it was buried. That was a great
Well,
show.
It's on at that hour where
right.
It's the audience tapering off because it's so late at night, and Craig had a long run, and then I saw Billy doing they had, as they do at these shows, a lot of rotating guest hosts to figure out who's the next guy. That area is shrinking too. They're probably, when you see these people go that are on now, I think that's going to be it, because they don't want to spend the money, and it's a changing climate on how those shows are run.
And once again, they kind of didn't stay in their lane, got into all the political stuff, not enough yuckity yucks. And if you get a chance, go on YouTube and watch the Bang on Your Drum finale from the Craig Ferguson show. And it tells you everything you want to know about why a show like that works. On top of that, it's just an awesome effing song. So I want to share that with you guys. Bang on Your Drum, Craig Ferguson. Look it up. It's not yet, not until we're off.
No, in a few minutes. Right now, we're going to pay homage to the fine sponsors of the GarrForce, and then Ryan will come on and share whatever weirdness Wisconsin has shown him this past week. First, Bettenhausen Automotive.
Save big at Bettenhausen Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on 159th Street in Tinley Park. During Ram Power Days, save $17,000 off MSRP on a new Ram 1500. Get $12,000 off a new Jeep Grand Cherokee or Chrysler Pacifica. Save $8,000 on a new Jeep Compass or $7,000 off a new Jeep Wrangler. Showroom never closes. Choose from over 900 vehicles at BettenhausenCDJR.com.
Yes, Bettenhausen, to save money. And Rags, I read his email the other day. He just bought a Jeep from Bettenhausen. That's the nickname, Rags. He's a professional airline pilot, and he had a wonderful experience there. And you will too.
From rags to riches at Bettenhausen.
And the riches are in your pocket.
Yep.
I was talking to David Hochberg the other day, and the mortgage lending rate has gone up. It went down a few weeks ago, popped back up. And whenever it goes down, and he said this, a year and a half ago when it was in the threes, if you're waiting, you're an idiot because it's in the threes. Now it went into the sevens, came down into the sixes, and then it popped back up. You've got to call him for the free consultation, and he will tell you what's what, because he knows. And he told people about 3 weeks ago, okay, it came down, go. And people, well, if it came down now, maybe it'll come down in a couple more weeks. Now it's back up. This financial erotica that we're in, he can figure it out because he's looked at it for a number of years. There are the numbers.
Hey, and did you know that it's an election year? I'm sure you guys haven't heard that. And that might have something to do with all of this too.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah, now we drink.
Yeah, and will be for the next few weeks heavily. Ryan, hello. I think he's left. You're muted.
You're muted.
It's actually been a weird week because it's been a quiet week, and I think the full moon's messed with me, and it's just kind of been a weird,
I don't think it's quiet when you text me and say a friend of yours wanted you to pick him up.
Well,
because...
that was the only one my friend ended up putting using an enema and just thought it was time released and ended up having work problems and wanted me to come pick him up because his girlfriend wouldn't pick him up. I said no because I'm that kind of friend.
Well.
Wait,
first of all,
you said
had
no.
To throw up in your car. You had to sell the car.
No. I had to throw up in my car and I was busy.
Yeah.
By the way, we've been sharing this week my new addiction, and it's intense car detailing. So I've given up earwax removal and pimple
into
popping.
Car dealing.
Car detailing. And oh my gosh, I mean, like, I can't even believe there are people who admit, like, on camera that they've let their van get into this state and they blame it on the kids. But it's like, well, you're the one who left the effing Big Mac in there for 3 years. In your Kia Sorento or whatever it is that yours. Oh my gosh. So if you guys get a chance, extreme car detailing. That's after you see the Craig Ferguson video.
Yes. No,
Right.
Hank,
Very zen.
early on, I said we don't mess with the car. So he gets kind of, Dad's going to be mad, Mom, if you do this and that. So I've at least trained him right. But the other highlight.
Brian?
Yep. The other highlight is I got some photos here.
Can we also talk about him being invited to take part in a 3-way?
Okay.
Wait,
talk about that?
You want to share that? Because wait, if you eventually said yes, that's cool. Just blink,
Yeah.
I didn't because I didn't want to go to their home. Someone said, "Hey, do you want to come over and mess around? Because once Trump gets into office, he'll outlaw that in your home." I thought, okay. And then he used the words. I don't remember there was 2 words that were like places. They said, "Well, we're going to do this and that," and I'm going.
The
was
two,
like Alpine
because I should have written it down, but one of them was the Arlington.
Yes.
And like an Arlington and a Remington or something.
And that was coming out of Walmart, and they were a young couple, and I just smiled and said, "No, I've got other things to do, but I'll make sure I do it before November 5th when we get a new president."
Right. You had better things to do. You had to pick up your friend who just gave himself an enema.
At work?
And then went to work.
That's what people are asking. Wait, he gave himself an enema at work?
No, he went home for lunch and then used those, I guess the ones that are suppository. They thought it was time released, that he would have time, and then So then he called me and said, "Can you come pick me up? I need a ride home."
Yeah. Because he messed his pants.
Correct. And he said, "No, I But otherwise, I spent the day planning Hank's holiday party at school. So in previous years, the moms would suck up the room captains and you wouldn't be able to get, even a chance to do it. But this year, nobody wanted it. So myself and another dad took it on. So they've got 2 dads to deal with this year.
What kind of party?
Halloween. So we've got to organize, who's bringing what, and then we've got to go help the kids get dressed in their costumes to do the parade. They do a parade around the neighborhood. So
they're going to have a chainsaw massacre with an actual chainsaw because they're dads, and that's how that works.
Right. Well, I have to find a costume here between now and Halloween, and I've chosen a few. And Henry said, "No, I don't." There's a dad on blue.
Okay, if you listen to the show on Monday, I'm going to give you a list of the costumes that have been considered the most offensive, and you can maybe pick one of those.
I'll have to listen out of there. I was going to be Bluey. There's a dad that cartoon. There's a dad, his dad in there, and her dad in there. And Henry said, "No, I don't want you to be Bluey's dad." So,
all right,
I haven't figured out what I'm going to do. But I got
on Monday's show.
Okay, I've got some pictures here. If you're bored, Gary, you can buy this and.
Ooh. By the way, we're coming up on the top of the hour, you guys. News, traffic, weather, and sports.
Well, we'll be prepared. This is the smallest Rubik's Cube. I think it's about $5,000.
Yes.
If you want to do this.
It goes with the teeny tiny Louis Vuitton bag. Isn't there one that's microscopic? So you can put it inside there. Oh.
Because it's what, the 60th or 70th anniversary of the invention of the Rubik's Cube? Something. It's an anniversary deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could never figure it out. Henry just busts them apart, so we don't buy them anymore.
Okay. You sent me this, Ryan.
I did.
Is this real?
It is. There's a place that I'd have to remember where it was. It's in Wisconsin that they make all kinds of varieties of sausages and brats, and this is the candy corn brat.
Delicious.
To be honest, that might be more tasty than the
eating the
actual
candy
candy corn.
Yep.
So, okay.
All right. And this sign, get your Shangle shit here.
Oh, and we should mention Walgreens shutting down 1,000 stores. I think.
Okay, because people aren't getting their Shangles shit there. That's why.
There you go. If you would just get on board for that.
Please. Traffic, weather, news, sports, and a lot of other shit you don't need for 15 minutes. Okay, this was sent to me by Lloydster.
Jerry.
Ventriloquist dummy and doing what they do, being offensive. Nice.
There you go.
Schnauzer. All right. Look at this sign, due to unforeseen circumcisions.
Oh.
The dining room will be closed. Yeah, that'll happen.
Oh, that's painful.
Yep.
Okay.
And this is a comfortable looking thing, isn't it?
It's from that show. Don't you have a coin purse like that, Gary?
Yes, I do. The Vagina Monologues. I bought a coin purse, and well, you know what a coin purse is? Well, then you know what it looks like. This was sent to me by a listener.
Is it real?
Looks like sort of like AI, maybe a little bit created that. It looks pretty.
You don't think it's available?
We'd have to search that up.
Is it a love sack?
By the way, we have reached the point where you cannot believe anything you see on the interwebs anymore. No. Has anybody seen the video of how the pyramids were built by giants?
No.
There's this AI video, and it shows like these 20-foot tall giants hauling the rocks, and they're like human slaves helping, and oh my gosh, it's
okay. We're doing
some scary stuff. Don't believe anything you see anymore, except for us.
Since you mentioned this the other day, this popped up on my feed almost that same day you mentioned baby Jessica in one of the
Leslie had
week?
her well service.
So there's baby Jessica.
Yeah, as your guys fixing your well, have them look for baby Jessica. That was,
and it was almost that day.
87.
To the day. And by the way, my water pressure is now phenomenal. And thanks to I think I should go ahead. The guys at Demis Family Plumbing, Demis Family Plumbing in the western suburbs of Chicago, DEMMIS. They did a spectacular job for me.
Now you turn the shower on and it's like you get knocked out of the shower. It's so powerful.
This was
it
going around
exfoliates like that.
Interwebs, since candy's so expensive for Halloween, this is how you do trick or treating. The kids go up to pay for their candy, and then they pick what they want and they leave.
That's funny.
That is it.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
See you later.
Leslie, you want to do 1, 2 store? What do you want to do?
Why don't I just do the one story? I teased a couple, but I have a visual for a story regarding Werther's Original Caramels, makers of the caramels that grandmas love, is taking a plunge into the world of fashion. The candy makers unveiled a limited edition pair of denim jeans made specifically to carry a bunch of their signature caramel candies. The jeans are equipped with 30 tiny pockets, each large enough to carry a single Werther's candy. You won't find these jeans at any brick and mortar stores, and you can't buy them either Werther's is sponsoring a sweepstakes to give away 200 pairs of these limited edition pants. Winners will also receive a bag of Werther's caramels so they can stock their pockets.
And there it is. Do you like Werther's? I do.
You know, and these days there is that grandma thing that is associated with liking caramels and butterscotch.
Yes, my mother-in-law likes those, and she'll give me some, and now I like them.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And I don't carry them around, nor do I keep tinfoil or used tissues in my purse. So I haven't.
You haven't gone that route yet.
Made that leap yet. Exactly. Thank God.
And keep everything in your brassiere.
As my mother-in-law would say, when she'd go to Vegas, you put $50 in there. When you win that 50 back, you stick it back in the bra, and then the rest you can play with.
That's right.
Yeah, that's where you keep it.
All right.
She also had bosoms so that it didn't just slide through like mine.
Okay. Are we ready, Alan?
Sure. Let's get the music. Where's the music?
Okay, here we go.
Yes. There we go.
Here we go. Who's going to win? Who's going to win? Kathy Long's going to win. Alan, tell Kathy what to do, please.
Kathy, send your United States mailing address to Garry Meier Show at GarryMeier.com or text it to 773. I'm going to let it appear on the screen. 888-2157. Regular charges apply. And Leslie will go to her neighborhood post office where she's besties with all the folks who work there and get that stuff in the mail to you. Go ahead, Leslie.
Especially Lolita. She's the one who screwed up the picture on my passport because she hugged me just before she took the photo. So my hair looks kind of wanky. But as my daughter pointed out, that's the way you're going to look in the airport anyway.
That's right. So it's accurate.
You may as well
have to look twice. Yeah, that's you.
This is like a guy I ran into who decided that he wanted to look drunk on his driver's license in case he ever got pulled over for a DUI. That way they think he looked normal.
Oh.
This was not a man who made good decisions.
No.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Next week on the program, on the Cocktail Show, Jenna Duddleston will be here with her October drink. I would imagine it's going to be Halloween inspired. And we'll talk to you on Monday. And looks like the show's over. Look at this, because my drink is empty.
Oh, I got refilled.
Just 13 days till Halloween, Garry.
13 days. And then all the Christmas stuff is out. I need another drink. Here comes the cannoli down the aisle. It's delicious. Please take it. It's complimentary. Leslie, what about the schnauzer this weekend as our daylight shrink?
As our giveaway indicated, go ahead and enjoy your schnauzer with a full moon. Oh, wow.
Wow, the best kind. 3 in the green, gear is down, flaps are down. The voice of the globe, the GarrForce America's podcast has landed.
And that's all the news and nonsense for this week, GarrForce. Thank you for streaming.
If you like that, I got other stuff I think you're going to like. This is the GarrForce.
Please be sure to like and share the show on all of your social networks.
More eyeballs.
If you're not already a subscriber, show your support by subscribing to GarrForce Live YouTube channel. For those watching a replay, that button is right here. All the rest of our episodes, right here.
Boom.
Hello?
Shakalaka.
Did you click something?